Tonight, concerns in Parja television is on its last legs, right when it's needed the most. And after the controversial decision to build in Port Lincoln, we go behind the scenes of the largest desalination plant in the state.
From our 7 Spencer Gulf studios, your nightly news with Madeline Kerr begins now.
Good evening, thanks for joining us. The CEO of Imparja Television is warning thousands of Australians living in regional and remote areas are losing out on vital information and entertainment. Alistair Feehan says infrastructure in the bush is severely neglected and is now asking for the federal government to help.
According to Imparja TV CEO Alistair Feehan, 4 out of 5 remote Indigenous households are now without basic television services.
Not just television, their radio services, their morning services, all those things come off air. Now, it's okay if you're in a big community, you can probably find your way around that if you've got some internet bits and pieces, but most of these communities don't.
Damage and vandalism to satellite dishes, cables and TV cards are some of the key issues. And without internet access, many remote communities just fall silent.
That if it was a problem with the card in the set-top box, the only way you could reset it was over internet. Those communities don't have internet. They've been without comms and media for some of them as long as 8 years.
The TV and radio blackout comes ahead of the Voice to Parliament referendum, where important information about the campaign could be lost to thousands of households.
The last thing we want to see is remote communities not having the information that they need in order to make a decision or participate in the vote.
And the people the Voice is about, they've got no idea. You speak about the Voice, they've got no idea what's happening because they've been cut off. Government's aware of it, government are trying to address it, but like most things, these things aren't quick fixes.
Imparja's future is also at stake, with the broadcaster's funding under pressure. Communications Minister Michelle Rowland says the federal government is assisting Indigenous broadcasters like Imparja and is working on strategies involving media reform to secure Imparja's long-term future. Daniel Pizarro, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A concerning development out of Port Lincoln today, with SAPO arresting 3 people over an alleged attack on a teenage girl. Police say the incident took place in broad daylight last Thursday at Tolma Lane. It's alleged a 15-year-old girl was set upon by 3 people known to her. The attack caught on camera and leaving the teen with injuries to her face and hands. 2 girls aged 14 and 16 will front youth court in May on aggravated affray charges, while an 18-year-old woman will appear at the Port Lincoln Magistrates Court in June. In the wake of the controversial site selection of the desalination plant in Port Lincoln, SA Water hopes to ease locals' minds. Our reporter Alison Hall toured the desal plant in Adelaide to discover how it works and what it might look like at Billy Lights Point.
Time is of the essence to secure climate-independent water on the Eyre Peninsula, as the existing water supply dwindles. The proposed desalination plant at Billy Lights Point will be 20 times smaller than its forefather in Adelaide's south.
Well, we're really excited to really get going on the detailed design of our 5.3 gigalitre climate independent water for the Eyre Peninsula. We are extracting quite a small amount of water in through our plant. We then turn that seawater into fresh water and we return a concentrated seawater back into the ocean, which is only about double the amount of salt that we took out.
Given the community reaction towards the site selection, SA Water is encouraging people to have a fresh look at the science behind the decision.
We've had a marine science review panel, and I'm no means a science expert, but I do rely on world-class and world-renowned team of science experts that have had a really good look at the facts.
Amanda explains the team of experts confirmed there will be no impact on the marine environment, having undertaken over 12 months of monitoring to understand the seasonal variation of salinity in the bay.
The salinity that we will be returning will have less of an effect than the natural seasonal variation.
SA Water looking to the Adelaide desalination plant as an example. Open since 2013, the plant has had no negative impact on the marine ecosystem.
You have to make sure that you do proper ecotoxicity assessments and that you dilute that reject stream to make sure that there are no environmental impacts.
A community reference group will be set up so SA Water can receive input from across the Eyre Peninsula as they move forward with the detailed design phase. And an information centre will be opening in Liverpool Street on Monday.
Come and have a chat if you've got questions. I'd really recommend come and talk to our friendly team. They'll be able to provide you all the information you might be seeking on the project.
Alison Hall, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A non-profit organisation dedicated to fallen and injured soldiers has teamed up with the Broken Hill Distillery to create this year's Legacy Gin. Half of the proceeds go to the families affected by the loss of a loved one who served.
Committed to helping families of fallen soldiers. Legacy and the distillery getting together to honour Sergeant Wendy Jones.
We're here today to remember Wendy Jones, that was in the Air Force. She was sadly passed away in a helicopter accident in Indonesia, 2005.
The family of Sergeant Jones at the Tidville Hotel for the announcement.
With the gin factory here, every Anzac Day they do a remembrance gin, which honours Anzac Day, and for the passing of Wendy we thought we'd put her on the label and say, yeah, it would be great to honour her. Family's very, very appreciative of it.
The RSL helped Legacy get in contact with Sergeant Jones's son, Trevor.
We went down the lines of showing them what we're going to do, what the gin was all about, what it does to honour that girl for what she's done through her life in the force.
Last year, 200 bottles were sold, with $10,000 being raised. This year, the distillery has kicked it up to 250 bottles.
Realistically, this year, it could be another $5,000 on top of that. We're looking at 15, but who knows where it ends. But the main thing about it, it's a remembrance gin. It's all about Wendy and the family.
To buy bottles of the Legacy Gin, you can order online on the distillery's website or drop into the Tidville Hotel. Joshua Mercer, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Still to come tonight, an independent inquiry launched into the worst fish kill the Darling Barker River has ever seen. And Port Augusta students raise money for Autism Awareness Week by walking thousands of steps. Welcome back. Following his visit to Menindee yesterday, the newly elected Premier of New South Wales has announced an independent inquiry into the horrific fish kill event. Chris Minns was joined by Member for Barwon, Roy Butler, Minister for Environment, Penny Sharp, and Shadow Minister for Water, Rose Jackson, at the banks of the Darling Barker River. The politicians meeting with local authorities to survey the scene where millions of fish met their end due to hypoxic black water. In a post to Facebook, the Premier said he has no interest in casting blame, but rather protecting the river going forward. A newly formed community group is bringing Port Pirie men together to talk about mental and physical health. Held in a familiar setting, the Doors Open group promotes local services on offer in the Mid-North.
As the name suggests, the door is always open at Doors Open. Located at the Port Pirie Golf Club, the non-profit welcoming people from all walks of life.
As most people have lost or have seen a good friend of theirs or a family member suffer over a long period of time, and we just thought there could have been something that we might have done to help some of those people.
Formed earlier this year by 5 Port Pirie locals, Doors Open aims to connect locals with available services, and that's exactly what they did in their first meeting last month.
A very informative night where we had Mel Putty from GP Plus, and we just did not realise there were so many services available behind their doors.
Despite it being their first ever meeting, the group received positive feedback.
Didn't realise how laid back it was going to be, how there was going to be some information that they could pick up from, and he said he'd definitely be back again.
And back again they were. Wednesday's meeting saw Thrive Health Centre talk about the services they offer.
Yeah, so we've got a range of services in the mental health sphere. We've got mental health OTs that work in that area, both in the quite pointy end of mental health, and also in your everyday issues with regards to mental health.
The team encouraging locals to come along to the next one.
We are our own worst doctors. There's no issue about that. It's an opportunity, if you're sitting at home, just to simply go, okay, all I have to do is turn up and listen.
Annabelle Francis, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Ahead of World Autism Day is Autism Acceptance Week, and Stirling North Primary School is taking part. Students are lacing up their trainers to walk laps of the oval, raising money for an important charity.
For Stirling North pupil Peyton Boyle, having autism can have its challenges.
It's really hard for people to communicate with other people and that stuff. And I know lots of kids who have autism and they have really bad problems of meeting and seeing other children.
But she has support. Hundreds of students are walking around one of the school's ovals, raising money for the Walk for Autism organisation.
I'm the appointed autism inclusion teacher at our school. My role is to raise awareness and acceptance for students with autism. So I signed us up for the Walk for Autism Challenge. 12 staff members have jumped on board.
An appreciation wall was also created, showing facts about autism.
I've had a few students say, I have autism, this is what it means for me, these are my challenges. The wall was great, we've got some awesome facts. Our librarian has done a great job at ordering some fantastic new resources.
The teachers have already raised almost $3,000 and counting. There is a saying that if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism, as each case is different. And as I too am on the spectrum, having occasions like this one shows that there is support out there.
I feel really happy about it because now people know some facts about autism.
Daniel Pizarro, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. The step extension at Edisonburg Jetty finally complete. And learning from the best. Broken Hill acting students receive some top-tier tutorage. Welcome back. Edisonburg Jetty is a popular spot amongst locals and tourists, and thanks to some recent upgrades, it's now even more accessible for divers and swimmers. York Peninsula Council has been working with the local community to upgrade the Edisonburg Jetty steps, adding an extension of the southern steps for a safer access, as well as the removal of the northern steps. Now reopened, locals can get back to exploring the magnificent sea life beneath the jetty, which is streamed in real time on OzOcean's YouTube channel. Aspiring actors and filmmakers were able to call upon the knowledge of some of the brightest stars in the Australian television industry. Workshops were held in Broken Hill over the weekend after the curtains went down on the Perfect Light Film Festival.
Learning from the best. Marcus Graham, Heidi May and Terry Serio all imparting their wisdom on locals, with the Silver City charm coming through for the actors to see.
I don't know what it is. The local people are grounded, they're funny, they know how to, they understand irony.
It wasn't only actors and filmmakers in the room, with some writers also present to learn a thing or two.
So it was great to have discussions of we can do this, and we've got, what can we do and what's it about and how do we go about it, and all the different options and funding and distribution, and things are changing so quickly.
Heidi May, who is currently starring in the Paramount Plus series The Last King of the Cross, wasn't surprised by the talent on show across the whole city.
Not at all. I mean, I think you find talent in all sort of little nooks and crannies of the world, but I wasn't surprised, but I was enjoying it, that's for sure. And I really do think there is some talent here.
Organisers know how hungry local creatives are for wisdom on their craft.
One of the great things here is that they're open and very hungry for information around filmmaking of any kind of any kind of information. And I put it to our judges, what do you guys want to run through? And they were very much, well, let's see what they want to do.
Joshua Mercer, 7, Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us after the break. Our trusty fishing experts reveal the best places to cast a line this weekend. And a little bit of rain across the Gulf today. We'll have the weather details with Alex Sykes. Welcome back. Anglers across the Gulf have had plenty of luck wetting a line this weekend. And as always, our experts have you covered for this weekend as well. From yellowtail kingfish to crabs and garfish, here's this week's Fish and Tips.
Last weekend was probably one of those weekends where I just couldn't get some time to get out there, but there is so many great things happening. Probably some of the worst fishermen I know fed back to me over the weekend that they got blue swimmer crabs by the plenty. They actually got some King George whiting and some squid, which we've been telling you about for a little while, that the seasons are going to merge into each other. So we've got a bit of a cold snap. So I'd say if you wanted a fresh face this weekend looking for something different, try all of your King George whiting spots. Also, yellowfin whiting. They're the last out all the time. So if you're not so successful with the King George, wait in the off run of tide and you may be able to get yourself some nice yellowfin whiting. Squid as well, we usually have them where the old prospect was, which is on the sandbar, Ferguson sandbar, right next door to Runa Island. So that's all I've got for you this week, but enjoy the weeking and remember, so many things to do. Take a kid along with your fishing.
G'day and welcome to Fishing Tips in Port Lincoln. We'll start over the Coffin Bay side. Whiting catches are starting to improve within the bay, and there's also a few salmon trout and a few snook mixed in with them. At the Farm Beach grounds just outside of Coffin Bay are fishing pretty well for whiting at the moment, and it does pay to have a bigger bait set out the back, but there are a few nice gummy sharks in that area at the moment. Moving up the coast, Point Drummond and Convention Beach has some schools of salmon at the moment, and they're providing a bit of fun for those fishing the surf. Here in Port Lincoln there have been some squid caught off the town jetty early in the day and also late in the day. There's still some crabs down in Proper Bay as well. Well, the Port Lincoln Tuna Classic has just run for another year, and there were just over 500 tuna tagged and released for the competition, plus a few others weighed in. So well done to all of those who took home a prize. Most of the fish were spread from Thistle down to Low Rocks across to Wedge, and there have been some fish caught down in the Cabbage Patch as well. There was also a few smaller yellowtail kingfish around Low Rocks at the moment as well. Well, that's all for this week. We'll see you again with more tips next week.
G'day and welcome to this week's Fishing Tips from Port Augusta, Jewel of the North. Well, a really good warm-up up into the Easter period. There's still crabs available, they're fairly plentiful, and the first lot of squid is starting to turn up down along the shacks there. Try a little bit further south, you get greater catches, but they'll be gradually making their way up the Gulf. There are some kingfish around at the moment, up around the train bridge. There's been a school spotted up around there, so you can bet if they're up around there, they'll be around in Patterson and also the old powerhouse site. And there's still a couple of snook getting caught in the troll as well. On these calm nights, try and get out and dab some garfish, and also drift along the front of the shacks there for garfish and the last light there too. That's all we have from the Jewel of the North.
Nice. Sounds like a relaxing way to end the day. Thank you, Aaron. But it's time now to take a look at what's happening in the weather with Alex Sykes. Alex, it was under 10 degrees in Port Pirie this morning.
It was, Maddie, but felt even cooler than that, recording a feels-like temperature of 7.5 degrees in the early hours of the morning. Elsewhere, partly cloudy and 23 degrees in Port Augusta. Whyalla reached a high of 21 today, 22 over the border in Broken Hill. Looking more broadly at today's weather map now, 22 in Woodner and Port Pirie as well, 20 in Kadina and Adelaide. Cooper Pedy was our warmest centre, recording 26 this afternoon. Taking a look at the satellite image now, low cloud over the southeast is bringing some cool southwesterly winds. Behind that is a trough, bringing the odd light shower. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. Southwesterly winds winds 10 to 20 knots, turning south to southeasterly in the late morning and afternoon. Seas around a metre, and south to southwesterly swell around 1 metre, increasing up to 2 metres. Possible showers between 13 and 22 degrees for Port Lincoln on Friday. Partly cloudy and 21 in Cleve. Partly cloudy in Woodner as well, 23 degrees there. Possible showers and said to reach a high of 22 degrees in Whyalla tomorrow, 23 in Port Augusta. Possible showers around Kadina, also heading for 23. Partly cloudy and a high of 24 degrees in Port Pirie tomorrow, 20 on the way for Clare, 22 degrees in Broken Hill. Partly cloudy skies. Taking a look further through the week now, starting with Saturday's weather map. Cloudy to partly cloudy conditions across the region. Port Pirie said to reach a high of 24 degrees, 23 in Port Augusta, 22 degrees on the way for Woodner and Broken Hill. Those clouds will make way for the sun on Sunday. A fitting name really. Sunny conditions in Whyalla, Port Augusta, Kadina, Port Pirie and Broken Hill. Bit of cloud coverage elsewhere. Temperatures between 21 and 25 across the board. Monday is looking cloudier but warmer, 26 in Port Augusta and Port Pirie, 27 degrees in Woodner. And that's all the weather from me for tonight. I'll see you a little later with an update. It's back to you, Maddie.
Thanks for that, Alex. And that's the local news this Thursday. I'm Madeline Kerr. From all of us here, thanks for joining us. I'll have updates a little later. But until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.